Hello and welcome to the journey of grief, becoming us without them. I'm Barbara Field, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've created this space just for people to be able to talk about grief. And today I've invited a hypnotherapist to come and talk to us about self-grief, all of the ways that we lose ourselves in bits and pieces and nobody formally notices or grieves it, and it can't get out without somebody acknowledging it. So, Jeanine, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your work?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I am Jeanene Desrosiers. I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist. I own Essential Key Hypnotherapy. I'm in Folsom. I have a office in Granite Bay and in Folsom, but I actually have a lot of clients that are either by phone or by Zoom, just for people that aren't either nearby or maybe leaving their house feels unsafe for whatever reason. So, but yes, self grief, near and dear to my heart for myself, but I do help a lot of people with self grief. So, thank you for today.
Thank you for being with us, and I'm excited to hear more about this.
So, we have talked before about self grief when somebody dies, right? The self grief that we don't talk about out loud. When someone dies, there's a part of us that maybe our expectations of our life, what we thought it was going to be, the plans that we had laid out, we not only grieve who we lost, which lost is that funny, weird word. We didn't lose them, but I remember this. But it's the grief of our loss of our plans. I feel like generally people don't acknowledge that or say it out loud. They feel like it's selfish. It's inappropriate to say. And I think grief is such a quiet, uncomfortable topic for a lot of people anyway, that of course this part of it would be even more uncomfortable to say out loud. I feel like when I work with clients, that is a an area that always comes up. And once we create a safe place, then they're able to share that. And that part is incredibly important for us to heal as individuals, right? Because when we can soften those intense feelings, then we can begin to heal. As you know, there's so many levels to grief, but we do have to start healing parts of ourselves, not to get over the grief, not to make those feelings go away, but to definitely soothe the really, really intense ones that make, daily lives really, really, really challenging and difficult.
Absolutely. And it's really hard to talk about that. Like you said, it sounds so selfish when there was me with them, and we were very different. They called us the odd couple. We both had rich full lives apart and rich full lives together, and yet when they left, that there was a tearing, leaving big gaps. And to say, but what about me? I got lost too. The me that was half of that got stolen too, and I kind of want her back.
Absolutely. And you think about being kind of mad, right? Now you have to figure out how to maybe pay all the bills, do all the yards, or even lock the doors at night. I'm married. I have two dogs. I don't have any children. The other night, my husband was gone with his brother, and I was like, "Oh, suddenly I have to do this all by myself." Not the same, but it's those moments of our daily activities, right? That they change so much to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other. Of course, there's all those levels of overwhelm, mad, everything else, but as as you know, the people that you talk to, that is such a hard topic for people to just bring up and feel okay about feeling mad.
Yeah, it is. It does make you mad. Anytime something sudden happens, like whether you smash your thumb with a hammer or you're mad, and it feels so yucky to be mad when someone has died and like they didn't necessarily die on purpose, and that's double tripled in the case of suicide of like
Mm,
wanting to say, I know you were suffering, I know you were miserable, but you murdered me too.
mm, absolutely. And I think when you are living within that container, you're processing all of these emotions, and people on the outside, say things which they feel are comforting and they're not, because, you know, someone's mad. They're mad that they got left behind. They're mad at how that situation unfolded. Maybe mad that they felt the relationship wasn't what it was. Like, why didn't I know that you were at this level, that you wanted to stop living? Right? I mean, not a lot of people share that they even feel that way. Talk about a whole nother level of grief that gets up to that. I do think a lot of people grieve versions of themselves, like looking back, like, oh, I miss who I was. I miss how I used to feel, maybe in control of my life or my emotions. And when that starts to get very overwhelming, people do either have the idea of checking out, stopping the pain, whatever that looks like. And some people do follow through, not knowing that you don't come right back from that checkout. So yeah, there's so much to that. Great point.
So, how specifically do you work with people on stuff like that? First, how do you get that out? Because some people still, they've got that so repressed, they don't really know all that rage and all those mean parts of you are standing there waiting for their turn to talk. So you can be pretty symptomatic when you're trying to push down that much.
Mm,
And so helping people to say out loud, just you gotta say it out loud so you can get it out of there. And it doesn't mean it's who you are, that you turn into this horrible, selfish, mean human, but it sucks. And you need to be
mm.
able to say that.
Yeah. I feel just my own life experiences. I understand those emotions. Um, Somewhere along the way, my own experiences in life have brought me to a place where I'm not afraid to have those hard conversations with people. So, intuition, no fear of talking about it. I'm not sure. Sometimes I feel like I open the door to those conversations in a very delicate way, and then see kind of how much somebody wants to share. In the beginning stages of brand new grief, I think there is so much overwhelm, nobody knows where to start. And those beginning stages can be months, maybe a couple years. I've worked with a few women who were in the very new, within a couple months of death, and they didn't know where to start. So sometimes I think in traditional talk therapy, we're used to starting at the front of the story at the beginning and then talking our way through that story, but they don't know how to talk about it. They can talk about maybe, their lives before, but you can see that anger coming up, that fear, that sadness, that overwhelm. So in hypnotherapy, we're working with that subconscious level, right? That stuff that's all down there, that overwhelm, that all of that stuff we can't really name. It's just a big mess of stuff. Um, so a lot of times initially, I have techniques that are really about balancing. We're nowhere close to actually moving a lot of stuff out, because that's too much on your nervous system if you're already in that complete overwhelm. And to name all of those things, well, I feel anxious, sad, depressed, angered, like all of that, like where do you start? So a lot of times I just work on some really gentle sessions, just about getting the feet back on the ground. That's all. Because to say we're going to move you through it, we're going to move out that anger, we're going to move out that sadness, part of that still takes away from the journey of going through that. And I in no way want to ever take away or insinuate that we're getting over the grief. All we're doing is softening the intensity of it, right? So I will work with people kind of like that for a little while, and then depending on what they share that day, maybe that day they are angry. Who are you angry at? Let's work on that. If there is a big block around anger, I do have some techniques to work on helping move that stuff either to the side, soften it, or move it all the way out, kind of depending on what it is. Everybody's so individual. And as you know, as you go, more things come up, right? I mean, it's part of life anyway, but that part of grief is just when you think you're like, okay, I've got my feet on the ground and I can go grocery shopping or, wash my clothes today, maybe just wash my hair, maybe not. Maybe a year or two later, something comes up and you're like, oh, and it feels like it brings it all right back up, just as it was the day that it happened. So it's really about holding space. I call myself a hand hugger, a hand holder, and a virtual hugger or a verbal hugger. Like, I think a lot of people just need to feel safe to allow themselves to have those emotions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. The work I do is in that sort of neighborhood. It's sort of like guided meditation on steroids. And a lot of times what people are processing, it's just sensations and emotions. You think there's going to be a memory come by, or going to go to some troubling event. But there's just a million little hard moments trapped in your body that you haven't known how to manage at the time. And they're in a giant pile. And when you can get the door open, it's like suddenly 10,000 ladybugs just are flying out, and they're not scary, they're ladybugs, but there's 10,000 of them. And so helping people just do that softly and gently and just let all of that angst or whatever it is out of their bodies, it just creates more space. Doesn't stop the grief, it doesn't fix the grief. I think it just creates some space for some grown-up version of you to start managing the content. It'd be really handy.
Yeah, what a beautiful way of saying that. I feel like that's going to stick with me for a while. The ladybugs. That is beautiful.
And it just feels overwhelming. But when you can help people like you do, we're just going to let your body speak. We're just going to trust that your body just knows what it needs to do. We don't have to have all the answers or figure it out. So you like you said, you just help people by just holding space and helping them move gently into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't fix everything, but suddenly there's room.
And I think too, there's a big part of life is we want to be seen, we want to be validated. And I'm able to do that for my clients. And in those moments, instead of someone like, so when are you going to get over it? What are you going to do next? Do you need help cleaning the house out? Or, like whatever the steps of the things are, but to just say, you want to be mad, be mad. You want to cry, you don't want to talk today? That's fine. You know, being able to validate that they're feeling, they can be mad. They can be mad for all the reasons. And I do feel like because I am very open to listening to a lot of it and not judging, not questioning it, that's often people don't get to experience that around the people around them, because people are like, oh, are you okay? Yep, I'm fine. Like, "Ugh, I'm fine. Ugh, eliminate that phrase too, right? We have perfected that and we're not fine. But in those moments when we're on fire on the inside, we're saying it and we're telling our subconscious, like, this level of intense pain is fine. It's not fine. But we generally, I think a lot of women really do it. We're the natural caretakers. We get the things done. We're the organizers. We, all of the things. And so people expect us to be okay.
Yeah, I wonder if it's not also when someone would ask me, "How are you doing?" If it was, I could tell it was like, "Hi, how you doing?" Moving on. Don't answer that question. Then I wouldn't really feel anything in my body. But if somebody really empathetic said, "How are you doing?"
Mm,
I wanted all, I could feel my body saying, "Oh, let me tell you." And then in here, there was a voice that said, "There isn't enough time to answer that
mm.
question. Get back up in your head and move on." So quickly
Yeah.
saying, "I'm fine," slams that door. So I'm like, "Would you like to sit down for an hour and let me tell you how I'm doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. It is such a protective mechanism that we do, and we do trap that all in. I feel like um, I've done it myself. I've done it myself. People around me have died, and I'm sure I learned it from my people that we put on a good show and we carry on. There was a time in my life back in 2014, I had a brain aneurysm and a brain tumor, and it was big times, right? A lot of overwhelm. Nobody tells you what life's going to be like after that. A lot of medications, anti-seizure meds, just woo, I had no idea what was happening. It's actually how I found hypnotherapy, stumbled in an office. But through that whole process, every doctor I went to, like, no one listened to me. You know, um, I had panic attacks, overwhelm, all of this, and everybody was like, "Well, I don't treat panic attacks." I'm like, "But you got a cold, there's a hole in my head." Like, so I just kept going from one place to the next. And actually, Montiel House was my hypnotherapist, who has since become an incredibly dear friend and mentor to me. Um, she showed me parts of life that I didn't know could exist. But through that, she held space for me while I grieved, which I still do. I grieve who I was before that. I grieve the clarity and the focus. I grieve the Jeanene that didn't have sensory overload, that could go to concerts and be around a lot of people and listen to loud things and enjoy fireworks and that. Like, I do go into a very deep level of grief. Am I going to get over that? Nope. It's just who I am now, and learning that I work on that part of that myself. Is, yes, the grief is there and it's okay to have it, and to recognize the growth that has come out of that. It's kind of like people go, "Oh gosh, you're doing so much better." "Oh, look at you, you're thriving." It's just like, well, yeah, I don't share all that other stuff, but there is that part of that self grief, and finding the okayness of being in that grief.
Wow, that's such an amazing example of losing a version of yourself that you can never get back,
Mm,
and being able to tell the truth about what that's like and how that feels, and that there's just no magic wand that you can bonk yourself
mm.
on the head and say, "Oh, I'm over it now. I'm all settled on this diminished life."
Yeah. Do we ever get over it? No. We just evolve and grow and change and who we're supposed to be now, I believe. But I think really acknowledging that that growth is not easy and that growth is not comfortable. People expect like those moments where you're like, oh, look at me, I guess I am getting over it or growing or moving forward, and those moments are beautiful, they absolutely are. But right next to it is another challenge. I mean, that is part of life, fortunately, unfortunately.
Because I think somehow, from the Disney movies, we get the idea that everything works out and everything looks happily ever after. And if we just wait for the next commercial, we'll be just fine. But that isn't the world we actually live in. And we poorly prepare people for the world we actually live in, which is a world where things don't all get better and bad things do happen. And even happily ever after sometimes requires marriage counseling. And we don't indoctrinate people into the world they're going to actually live in, and then feeling so shocked, like, what do you mean you stole my fairy tale? That can't be true.
So true. It is always, I always say society as a whole, but as a society, we teach people to assume they have to get over things, teach people that this is what relationships and marriages, because it all looks like TV and a Hallmark movie and Disney and all of that. And when it doesn't work out that way or look that way, I mean, talk about feeling out of balance. People think they're doing it wrong. I didn't grow up to who I thought I was supposed to be. And not like I'm growing up into who I am. It is what we're supposed to be. I mean, that's another level of self grief as well, grieving who you thought you were supposed to grow up and be. Maybe the
Right.
expectations people put on you.
And there's cultures where at least people are prepared for death. Like I was talking to someone the other day who talked about being raised in a big old Irish Catholic family, and they'd have the wake, and the body would be laying there in the middle of the living room, and everyone would be having a family reunion and talking and laughing, and the kids would be playing and hiding under the casket, and just, oh yeah, there's Uncle Harry, he's dead, and the people die. This is what it looks like when someone's dead. And it really helps your nervous system to really get the hang of it. This is death. Because often they just disappear and then we have a closed casket and your brain can't quite figure out where did they go again.
Mhm.
And there's so many places in the world or indigenous cultures that have these wonderful rituals around death and life and grief and make it so much easier. People are not shocked when it
Yeah.
happens. Like, oh, darn, here we go.
Yeah. I do feel like that's probably what has helped me being able to work with people with grief and all kinds of levels of it is I was raised by people that, uh, Michigan, Minnesota people that you take care of your family, you take care of your parents, you bring them in your home, you do. So I watched my mom and dad take care of my grandmother, my mom's mom, and I watched and I learned what that looks like all the way through. Um, a lot of people probably would have a hard time with this. They lived up in Paradise. I couldn't get there fast enough, but they were going to take her to the funeral home, and I didn't get there in time. It was the middle of the night. And so my dad was adamant that I still could go there and say goodbye to her. And when we got there, they said, "Oh, you're going to have to sign all these waivers, and it's going to be $500. We're going to set up this room." And I said, "Oh, that's okay." I, I didn't want my dad to have to pay $500 or to have to just, she was such a beautifully simple woman that I was like, oh, this is exactly what she didn't want, was to drape her and do all, So I said, it's okay. And the guy said, well, if you're okay with it, we can bring you in the back and you can say goodbye. And I'm like, yes, please. I'll pay for that. I'll like whatever. But I was able to go back into the back of the funeral home, and they didn't set up a room and they didn't do all of that. And it was beautiful. And I got to say my goodbye and I thought she looked beautiful. And to have that experience, like it is showing, just like you're saying, there's so many people are involved in so many aspects of that. And I think if we don't see that, people are afraid of it. Like, we want the closed casket. We don't want to know sometimes, those parts of it. But for me personally, like she was my people. I couldn't not say, well, it's so uncomfortable for me to go back there. It was like, no, 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 she's my person. So um, I do wish we had the opportunity to teach people about that stuff in a soft way. Not that everybody needs to do what I did, but I wish there was more of a, I don't know, a ritual or I don't know if that's the right word, but like it is beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience to be a part of. Yes, the grief is painful and overwhelming, but if you love somebody and you do get to be immersed in that in a loving way, I think that's very healthy. A lot of maybe people don't always agree, but for me, I do.
And people worry, how children will react, but
Mhm.
again, you never know. I remember at my grandmother's funeral, my nephew was with us and he was 3. And so my sister and my mom and I were standing in the back as people were coming in for the funeral. And it was an open casket. My grandmother was at the front of the room. And my nephew kind of just wandered up there, stepped up, looked inside, and from the very front to the very back, he yelled, "Hey, Mom, this lady's dead." And everyone in the building just flinched and like, okay, not traumatized, probably going to be fine.
Probably gonna be fine.
Just one of those where you feel terrible laughing hysterically in the middle of a horrible day and a horrible event, but just his innocence and his discovery was still sweet.
Yeah, yeah. And how sweet, really. I mean, no fear. I mean, we do, start to turn into these people that we're afraid to hurt other people's feelings or afraid to say the things that we want to say. And they're so young. I mean, right out of the mouths of babes that they just say it. And we forget that we can just say it.
So as a hypnotherapist, or like what I do, we can be the one that can look at someone with love and gentleness and say, "Oh my gosh, some of you died that day too." And it may not have ever occurred to them to be selfish enough to say, "Yeah, all that. And yeah, me, there was me."
Mhm. Absolutely. It's like giving ourselves permission. And I think both of us teach people to give themselves permission. We think we have to ask for permission to do that, to feel that way. But it's like, no, we can give ourselves permission to feel all the feels.
Right.
Mm.
And that we have a part in there's the grieving them, but it's okay to acknowledge and participate in
Mm.
grieving ourselves. So, what would you like? Like, what's your 1 minute takeaway? What do you want to leave people with that they really can carry with them and hold on to in terms of self grief in the midst of a huge loss?
Oh, I only have a minute. Okay. I mean, I really think the biggest thing is the timeline and not setting yourself up for this unattainable goal. When I work with people for grief, they kind of say, "So when are we done?" So you tell me. Do you want a break? There's not a done part. Like it is still that unattainable ending of when do I tomorrow think that I'm done talking about this or needing help with grief or extra support or anything like that. And I think it's really embracing that part. Whether someone works with me for 6 sessions, 3 years, there is there is no end date to that. And to give yourself the permission to embrace all of those feelings of it.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today. And hopefully sometime we can have a part two.
Absolutely. Barbara, thank you so much. I love the work that you do, and I love that you are bringing this messaging and this education for people that are looking for this. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. It's actually been a wonderful experience. Every time I meet someone awesome like you, I get more and more excited. So thank you, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, Barbara.
Bye-bye.
Bye.